In this video, we will go over BIRT report parameters. Report parameters are used to change the data in a report or maybe the layout or style of a report based on certain user input, or sometimes it can be based on another value within your data and they're hidden parameters. So we'll look in here to the different types of parameters. So here, our first parameter, we have the name. You have this display as prompt text to prompt the user, and data type and the type of parameter. So let's just add in type of parameter text, and then we're going to have default value high, and we're just going to look at how that shows up. And we have default value of high, and we can change it into whatever we want and run the report. So that's not connected to anything, so it's not doing anything. Let's say we want to add in some text. And we'll run that. And now it says enter a value. So let's go over the different types of parameters. We have a combo box. And this allows you to have multiple values. You could add in static values, a list one by one. So I could say value 1, and add a new one, value 2, and 2. And let's look at that. Click OK, and let's see how the combo box looks. So what a combo box allows you to have is a drop-down box. And you can pick one value. Now let's look at a list box. Now you see with a list box, a new option is moved over here, allow multiple values. So now I can have multiple values. Click OK. If I run the report, now you see it's a little bit different. I can click to have no value. If I press shift and click, now I can select multiple values. Now we'll go back to the parameter and we'll select radio button, and you see allow multiple values disappeared. Click OK. Run the report. And for radio button, now we don't have a drop down menu, but we just have, shows all the values, but you just pick one value. Click OK. Now we can go back to our parameter, and we have some options is required. So this will require the user to pick a value before the report can run. We have allowed duplicate values. So maybe there's duplicate values in your list, and we would allow that. And there's hidden. So let's click on hidden and see what happens. When we run the report, required. So we had to take off required first before we could run hidden, because then you can't add in anything. So now we just have it as hidden. And now the report just runs because we did not have to choose a parameter. It wasn't required. Okay, so we just kind of fooled around with parameter that doesn't do anything. So let's try to add in some parameters that will change our report. And so what I've done is I've added the categories from our data set as a smaller data set. So we have customer, no discount, and reseller. And we're going to use that to filter our report. So let's try to do that. So to do that, we're going to choose a list box. Let's use a list box so we can have multiple values. And now to add a data set, we're going to click dynamic, and then we're going to add multiple values. So now here you need to pick your data set associated to your parameter list. And we will click our category parameter data set. We select column, and we can select display text, and then the default value. So let's add in a default value. And here we can select one, or we can press Shift and select all. So let's take off the hidden, and we'll add is required and click OK. So now let's run that, and you'll see they're all selected once we start to run the parameter. But now we need to add that to our data set. We can add it to our table, but let's do it to our data set, which is a more efficient way to do it. So for our table, our data set is special offer. So we'll go into the special offer data set. And for this example, we're going to add this parameter as a filter. So we'll select new, and we'll select our category column. And we're going to select in because we want to choose multiple values. And we could select a value, and we could select, actually we're going to select our parameter. So we're going to select our value is in the parameter list. So whatever the parameter list brings back, we're going to select that data. Click OK. We can click preview, and it's going to bring back all of our results. And now let's try to use this report to bring back data. So let's just run it fully with all the categories, and we get back all of the data. And you can click here to run the report. You could change the parameters without going back and running the report again. And this time we'll just pick customer and click OK. And now you can see we're only returning the customer category. And let's try reseller. And now you can see we're only getting the reseller values. So let's try another way of adding the parameters. Let's say you want to pick by special offer. So what we're going to do is leave this one as it is, and then we're going to add a new parameter. And let's go back and look at our columns. So the special offer output column is an integer. So we're going to go back to our parameter and call this offer. And we're going to say enter a number, offered number. And so we're going to have an integer, and we're not going to have a default value. We're just going to have a text box. We can make not required, which would probably be optimal, but for this example, we're just going to make it required. And so to add that to our query, we're going to go back and say where special offer equals, and then to add your parameter, you need to add a question mark in SQL. So wherever you're adding parameters, if you have multiple places you need to filter, you will add a question mark. And when you go to add the parameter here, you need to add your offer number parameter. But whenever you're adding multiple query parameters, you need to make sure your parameters are in order of your query question marks. So you need to first add your question mark, then come back in and add your associated parameter. And I need to change this to integer. You could also name it so you know that what it's linked to. So let's just call this one offer number also. Click OK. And we preview results. And that's actually, so I need to change the query. It's actually special offer ID. So we preview our results and we have 0. So let's actually go back in here and add in the default value of 1 so we could just get some data. So when we run it, you'll see we're picking the first offer ID. So now we've changed our report to where we're only going to pick one offer ID based on this new parameter we've added. So this parameter is pretty much invalid. Right now, all we're looking for is the special offer ID number. So we're just going to change that here. And you see we'll get 3. Change it again. 6. And let's use a number that we know doesn't exist. 66, and our report is empty. So it won't throw you an error saying that there's no data because the query is still correct, but your number doesn't exist. And so that's it for parameters. That's just a couple of basic ways you could use parameters. It would probably cover most of the ways you need for about a good percentage of your reporting.